Hey guys, how you doing today? Got a day off, so I'm gonna do my dishes amongst other chores that I do around. That seems to be how we do around here. The millennials are basically just like, we work the majority of our time away, and then the days that we're not working for the corporates that own us, we have to actually, do all the chores and things that we have to do for life. And maybe in the past it was possible to have someone whose responsibility it was in the house to do these sorts of things, but now everybody's working, right? So that's gone. And this really is the subject that I want to be talking about today. Like, we are going to be confronted, and it's the millennials generally that are going to be confronted with it, and the Gen Z generation are going to be confronted with answering the question of the generation that's yet to come, of what in the hell happened, right? What the hell happened? Why has the majority of the populace been abandoned? That's the question they're going to be asking. They're going to be asking what the hell happened that everybody is desperate, living in these sort of destitute situations. If you are not destitute, you're literally working your life away for people you've never met, right? Like this is the situation that we are finding ourselves in, right? Like we're not building community. We're not in this together, right? Like all of that is just propagandistic nonsense. And we are going to be confronted with our own children asking us, what did we do while we were being abandoned? Like, while our society was structuring itself to enrich a tiny, small group of, who essentially are kings and queens, or princes, or lords, whatever language you like to use for a return to a neo-feudalism, which is 100% what's happening, right? Like, I think you have to be completely out to lunch to think that this society is the free, open society that capitalists claim it is, when what it obviously is a neo-feudal structure, right? Like, you have corporations are the new kingdoms. There is going to be no escape for the feudal serfs, right? The best that the feudal serfs can do is just ascend into, like, foremanship, right? Which is to say, become a manager. That's the only escape that exists, if you want to call that an escape, but it's the only way that an individual can actually survive any longer, right? Like, if you are in the serf class, like if you are just a worker, you are going to have probably 2, maybe 3 jobs, right? You're going to enter the gig economy, which the gig economy has got to be the most exploitive thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's so obviously, like, just a way to exploit and abuse individuals who are in this desperate sort of position, and to turn their free time, should they have any, into a way to generate profit for yourself. And we're going to have to ask, or we're going to be asked by our children, wait, wasn't there a period of time where, like, a single wage earner could make enough to support a house, a spouse, 2 kids, 3 kids, a car, and still go on vacation with regularity? And we're going to have to genuinely have an answer for them as to why the society declined so rapidly and so efficiently. I like to use the word efficiently there because anytime conservatives talk about efficiency, what they're talking about is exploitation, right? Like they're talking about, oh, the system doesn't exploit people well enough. So anyway, to answer this question, I think one of the things that we are going to have to talk about is something that's become in vogue to talk about more and more, which is the residential schools here in Canada. Like, how is it that we here in Canada erected a residential school system in order to commit a genocide against the First Nations people, and no one seemed to have a problem with it while it was happening, right? Like, no one seemed to have a problem with it. There were people in the House of Commons, right, in public, saying that the purpose of these residential schools was to commit a genocide against the First Nations people. It was to eradicate the Indians, right? That was the stated objective. And then, you know, illiterate idiots or just delusional boobs or people who are actively propagandizing, like the Conservative Party and Aaron O'Toole, get to pretend like that's not the case. But at the time, it was well known that was the purpose of the residential schools, right? It was stated outright. And so we have to ask, here we are, several generations later, asking, how the hell did that happen? How the hell did that happen that a people got to, that we as a people just thought, yeah, I'll commit a genocide against those people, that's fine. And the reality is that the idea is very popular. That's the terrifying reality of where we find ourselves today. That the idea of destroying the civil society, of plundering its gains, like things like the healthcare service or like long-term care, anything that has been mandated to be under the control of government, that should be dismantled and sold to some private interest so that they can exploit the elderly or the poor, right? That's popular. Right? Conservatives understand what they're doing. Like, they understand that when they elect a conservative, they're electing a conservative who's going to privatize things, right? Because they have this delusional idea that illiterate drug dealers who dropped out of college are going to be able to run these systems better than people who have dedicated their entire lives to the pursuit of running those systems. And this idea, of course, fails the minute it's tried, for obvious reasons, which, I mean, I've gone into over and over again. Like, if you pay for worthless do-nothings who take all of the money, then you have to find a way to do that. And the way to do that is to reduce services or increase prices. So it's very straightforward why privatization is a failed idea. Not to mention the fact that the people who generally become the owners of these institutions are illiterate morons who have no idea what they're doing. Like Mike Harris. Like, that guy's just an illiterate moron who has no idea how to run a long-term care home and doesn't care to, right? He just saw old people to exploit, and so he did. Like, it's a very, very simple system. It's a very simple idea. But this gets into a much more difficult conversation to have. Why in the hell is our own destruction so popular? Why in the hell are we sitting here, as we did when we destroyed the First Nations people, systematically through a residential school system, by assaulting their children? Like, this is disgusting what we're talking about, guys. Like, this isn't like we went into their homes and, like, started to hang First Nations people. This isn't like we created battle lines and went into a war. We went into their homes and kidnapped their children with the intention of eradicating their culture in order to spread our own, which, oh, what's that called? Oh, white supremacy. Yeah, fascism's alive and well in Canada, and the problem is that fascism is extremely popular. We like it. We like it. And so we've got to actually Because we're going to be asked. Like, we're going to be straight up asked by our own children, who we are abandoning on a daily, every day. Like, every day we are choosing to abandon them. They are going to ask us, why did you abandon us? Why did you create a society that is designed to destroy us? Where does this sickness come from? Where does this sort of destructive element, why does it come up? And it always comes back to larger ephemeral questions of who we are, what are we doing here, what is the purpose of our existence? And like, we could go back thousands and thousands of years to when people were like crucifying each other, right? Like, this is a question that has like deep religious significance, because we really do have built into our society these sort of Puritan ideas of you have to work to prove your worth, that you can't, that life itself is not sacred. Like, we genuinely do not believe that life is sacred. Like, we genuinely see life as something that needs to justify its own self. Which is an absurdism when you think about it, right? Your life was given to you freely. You didn't ask to be here, and yet here we are. And I don't necessarily have the answer to this question. Like, I'm very concerned. A big part of the reason why I do this channel is to confront myself and confront others and attempt to find a way to answer this inevitable question that is going to come up. And is going to become like a large issue amongst our own children. Why did we abandon them? Part of it, I think, is fear. Like, part of it is just like we don't really understand or know what to do. We just ceded all power to fascists who promised that they would structure the society for our benefit with a lunatic lie, right? The idea that we give all of the money and power to a couple of billionaires, and then those billionaires would reinvest it into the economy, which has been the prevailing ideology in our society for at least 40 years, ends up being a brutal lie. Like, brutal lie. Like, it's not a mistake. It's not an error. It's not something that they said with the intention of actually following through. They lied. Like, it's extremely clear. If the idea of trickle-down economics or supply-side economics worked, it would work. We wouldn't be in this situation, right? We would, the society would have continued improving the way that it was after World War II and the Union struggles and the successes of the communists and the socialists. Instead of that, we just sold the society to the neoliberals, or the rebranded fascists, and they've destroyed it. In a very short order, they've destroyed it. And they're going to continue destroying it, and it's going to get worse. Because they're not actually interested in building a civil society. They're not interested in having a vision. They're not interested in any of those kinds of things. They're interested in their own personal wealth and glory. And in a way, I kind of think that what's really, really happened is that we used to at least have some kind of idea of solidarity amongst one another, right? We used to have inside of ourselves culturally the idea that we should look out for our neighbor, right? This Christian idea. I think one of the great successes of the capitalists in this era is that the most ruthless and brutal sociopaths are the ones that have laid claim to the Bible. That they are the ones who get to speak as though they are the authorities on the Bible, while they ignore large swaths of that very text. And And I've said it over and over again. It behooves the left to become experts in the Bible so that they can confront these heretics and liars with their own texts and reveal them to be the illiterate idiots that they actually are. And because we have, as a culture, rejected the old Christian ideas, we have also rejected solidarity with one another. We've rejected the idea that we need to treat our neighbor, we need to care about our neighbor. We've rejected all of that. And it's become very popular to do so, right? That we should abandon one another as quickly as possible, and that there is no way to move forward in solidarity with one another, right? And this abandonment of each other has allowed large, massive corporations who work together. Like, this is the thing. This is the great irony, is that these massive corporations and these idiotic sycophants are telling all of us that it's all about rugged individualism and that you have to do it yourself, but they operate in solidarity with one another, right? They understand the power of solidarity. They understand the power of working together as a large organization to fulfill goals. They just also understand that they need to exploit you, and they can't have the majority of the people actually coming together and unionizing, or at least organizing in order to successfully improve the society. Because to improve the society means removing power from the sociopaths. And they're aware of that, right? They're aware of that. And so while I think fear is part of it, like, people don't know what to do, they don't know where to turn to, we don't really have any support systems anymore. Those have been decimated, those are gone. But I also think that selfishness is popular. Like, I think people are very invested in selfishness and in this idea that, well, I got mine, go fuck yourself, right? That we are not supposed to care about our neighbor. We are not, like, if our neighbor falls over, that's something that we should revel in. We should mock and admonish them for their failure. Because obviously their failure must be their own fault. It must be the case that that's the thing. Because if we were to accept the larger idea that, well, the universe is kind of a harsh and brutal place, and shit happens, right? And when shit happens, we should have systems in place to take care of the people who have fallen over, right? If we were to start talking that way, it would be the end of corporate capitalism. The whole system would collapse very shortly. Because corporate capitalism demands exploitation. It demands slavery. Like, it is a slave system, and it has to continue propagating itself through those methods. It doesn't really have an alternative, because that's what it is. And in a way, I think that what's happened to us is we've become hypnotized, right? We've become mesmerized by the lies and promises of capitalism, that capitalism can improves everything, right? And capitalists are extremely effective liars, right? They're extremely effective propagandists. And one of the most effective lies that they have told, that people gullibly believe, like really, really gullibly believe, is that, oh, well, all of the improvements that you're seeing in your society are because of capitalism. And it's just like a bald-faced lie. Like, no, all of those improvements are because of workers. The capitalists just stole all the productivity of those successes, right? And I just can't help getting away from my regular talking point, which is, like, Canadians are very gullible. Like, we're extremely gullible. We really will just take seriously any rube who speaks with veracity, who speaks with strength. And what's going to happen the second, like, the real problems start to manifest in our society, and like, even more than they already have, right? Those liars and those people who have been attempting to, who have been duplicitous towards us, they're going to abandon us. They're going to walk away, and they're just going to go like, well, that's your problem, right? They're going to retreat behind their gated communities, and they're going to retreat behind the police forces, and they're going to retreat behind their wealth and their stature and all this, and they're going to shrug and be like, I guess that's your problem. And we're just going to, like, it's going to be like just then we're going to wake up and go like, oh, these guys aren't interested in helping us. And people like me will be like, yeah, yeah, welcome to the party, right? Welcome to the party. And so what do we say to our kids? Like, because they're going to ask us, they're going to be like, hey, didn't you see any of this coming? Right? Didn't you see that, like, these wealthy people who are obviously working to abandon you, who are obviously working to structure, like, we literally watch books. We watch movies like the Mockingbird thing, right? Like, there's a whole trilogy franchise of, like, a society that's been struck. There's movie after movie. There's all of our media is geared towards this idea that wealthy people are going to consolidate wealth amongst themselves and then abandon the population. And then exploit the population for their own entertainment or for resources. Like, it's right in front of our faces. Like, it's very obvious that we are concerned as a people about it, and yet we seem incapable of doing anything about it. Like, the people who are propagating the fraud against us are popular, right? They're popular. How can you possibly explain that? How can you possibly explain that the people who literally are standing up and defending the people who have defrauded the population, the billionaire class, are also the leaders of the country and are very popular? The only thing I can come up with is that we're just very stupid and gullible. Like, it's literally, like, I like, really try to think about it, and I try to find, like, historical inroads, and I really love to listen to people about it, but it just really does seem like, when I come down to it, when I land on it, it's just like, it's just gotta be that we're just stupid. Like, it's just gotta be that we're stupid and gullible. And there's another thing that's been percolating in my head that I think is worth talking about. And that I think I'll dedicate a shorter video to, but I'd like to talk about a little bit here. And I'd love to hear your guys' feedback on this one, actually. Because some of you guys are very insightful, and you leave, like, really interesting comments. I think that there is a stereotype in Canada about the nice Canadian, right? And years ago, I thought to myself, well, that's nice. You know, it's nice that we have that kind of opinion, or that we have this kind of idea going on in our society that Canadians are nice. We're obviously not, right? We're obviously not. I think that the saying sorry when you bump into somebody thing is more out of fear than niceness. And I just think it's more propaganda, right? Because if you're the ruling class and you say to a group of disgruntled workers, hey, be polite, be nice, right? Well, revolutions and unions and being disgruntled it's not a nice affair. You're not nice when you're doing it, right? And if this COVID-19 thing has revealed anything to anyone, it's that none of these owners are going to be nice to us, right? They're not going to be nice. So this Canadian stereotype of niceness, in a way, it is a way to suppress revolutionary or rebellious thought. It's just a way to say, hey, we're not going to engage you on an intellectual or spiritual level. You're just being a meanie, right? And then they get to hold their nose up while they impoverish children. Like, for real, if it was up to the capitalists, our children would still be working in coal mines. And they may go back. They may go back. At this rate. And so I think a lot of it is like being polite has become like a piece of propaganda. It's something that if you're not polite, then you can be ignored, right? If you're saying things that we can call rude or we can call mean, then you can be safely ignored, because a mean, rude person isn't a true Canadian, right? They don't have the spirit of Canada. So if you're polite and nice, you can commit full-scale genocides. But if you point out that the people who are committing genocides are actually sociopaths, then you got to be ignored, or we can't tolerate that kind of speaking. So I have to rescue my little dog. He's freaking out down here. He needs some love and care. Don't we all? We all need some love and care. And really, I am going to keep asking this question. Like, what are we going to say to our children when they ask us why we abandoned them? Why are we abandoning our children? Because we are. Like, it's just black and white to me. I think you got to be out of your mind to think that the next generation is going to think, boy, these guys really helped us out. No, we fucking did not. We absolutely are not helping these kids out. They're going to step into something that is going to be a total fucking cluster disaster for them. And we're just letting it happen. We're just going to continue letting it happen. Well, on that happy note, be sure to like, share, subscribe. This one's just the YouTube one. I think that I like the idea that the YouTubers get a little bit of special treatment and get a little bit more out of these conversations. I think you guys are great. I hope you guys are doing well, really. And I never really want to take you guys for granted. I think that like this channel will only succeed or fail based on the people who participate in it. That I might be the face of what's happening, but I think you guys are the heart and the spirit. So, yeah, like, share, subscribe, spread it around. Oh, and one quick update. I did that video about monetization, about spreading myself around, and how weird I felt about it, but then that spurred me towards doing it, and viewership popped up. Like, I'm at 72 viewers, which is very, very quick turnaround for me. Like, I usually get like an extra subscriber a month. Like, that's kind of the trajectory, or like an extra subscriber every 2 weeks. And then to get like 3 or 4 in very short order is a big success for me. I know it seems like a small, meager success, but these days small, meager successes are what we have to focus on, because that's all we've got. It's all we've got. Good luck, guys. I love you all. Keep fighting the good fight. Know that there's someone out there who is in your corner and who is fighting for you, and who doesn't think the thoughts that you think are absurd. I agree with you. Good luck.